On the way, my vehicle got rammed by a suicide bomber driving a car loaded with explosives, which we know in our terminology as VBID, or Vehicle-Borne Improvised Explosive Device.
I remember when that happened. I just showed up to Kandahar. We were actually just looking at one of my platoon plaques. My first combat deployment was SEAL Team 2. We show up. One of the first things that we get is a brief on what had happened, I believe at the time was yesterday. And they show us this nice SUV, which was nice, and then they showed us what it looked like now, after you got hit with a car bomb. We didn't know each other at the time, but I think the only way to describe that vehicle, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it's on the screen right now, it looks like an asshole that had just been turned inside out and thrown on the side of the road. And you and everybody in that car survived that.
Yeah, we got out alive.
Why don't you walk us through a little bit about what's it like to go flying through the air in a armored SUV in one of the most dangerous provinces in Afghanistan?
Well, it was interesting to say the least. We did have our escorts with us, which are the locals that we basically hire and train up and turn them into professionals. And coincidentally, I had them out on the range doing what any good SF guy would do, which is train them up, make sure they're proficient. We were doing movement to contact drills in vehicles. So here we are driving down the road now, and this dude rams into the side of the vehicle, blows us up. We roll over, we land first on my side, then we went to the roof, which had a sunroof. I don't know why, because you couldn't reach it. There was armor on the roof as well, but that made the most horrible sound that I'll never forget as the glass shattered and drug along the metal of the roof as we were sliding on the roof. Then, of course, we ended up on the passenger side, perched on the passenger side, facing 180 degrees from our original direction of travel.
I can't get over that you actually survived that, because I mean, when I got into country, it was right after Red Wing had happened.
Yeah.
Got some briefings up north there. Then we moved down to Kandahar, to the agency base. I saw that car thinking, holy shit, shit's getting real fucking real fast. And I can't believe anybody walked out of that car. Were you out of it for any amount of time after that had happened? I mean, were you conscious?
So when the car got hit, this was actually a very new, I won't say the brand because the agency doesn't like that, but it was an SUV, very, very new, low miles. And when we got hit, it was very well armored. So the pressure literally forced everything tight into a box, and we felt next to nothing. However, when you slam onto one side, roll onto the roof, spin around, and end up on the other side, which, by the way, during that, the window did what it was designed to do, which is fall out onto the ground. Now we got flames coming in there with us as well. But up until that moment, we were sealed. We were very, very well protected inside. So the real damage came from the things that we had inside, like weapons, personal belonging, equipment in the car. During that rollover, that shit was flying around in there. So people got hit by the debris that was stowed nicely and secured for what we thought was fine at the time. We made some changes after that. But the only real injuries was the people that got hit by things flying around in the car.
So it was nothing serious at all?
No, yeah, just some bumps, bruises, some stitches. I think there was maybe one cracked rib. I honestly had not a scratch on me, which is why they're put out a worldwide communication saying this person, who of course was me, just not my actual name, was from that moment on, call sign lucky.
Wow, that stuck with you for a very long time.
Till I got shot in the head.
sometimes people see these cars coming, a car bomb, motorcycle bomb, whatever. Did you, sometimes they know it's about to happen, sometimes they don't. I guess, you know, maybe that probably has something to do with how heads up you are on the road. Did you know what was about to happen, or did it take you completely by surprise?
So I actually saw the dude because he tried to pull out in between. I was the follow vehicle.
Did you guys make eye-to-eye contact?
Yeah, I literally looked right at this dude and tapped my horn because I thought he was just another Afghan trying to pull out because he thought it was clear, and we really didn't want him in between us because once we hit the edge of town, we were going to be hauling ass with a nice loose follow, but we didn't want to have that other vehicle. I mean, it was just more of a convenience thing than anything else. So he had pulled off to the side of the road, complying with our lead vehicle, which was the local's gun truck. So everybody's, you know, everything was pretty cool. But when he started to nudge forward like he was going to pull out, I tapped the horn twice, and he looked right at me, and he gave me one of them really standard patented Afghan bows and the hand up like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, we've all, if you've worked in that environment, you've seen it a million times because there's people everywhere you go. And then when we went by him, lo and behold, this dude driving this just piece of crap car, which again, you see all over there, he didn't give me any indication that he was a threat. I did see him. He looked right at me. I looked right at him, and I was like, cool. He was cool. And then he freaking rams us and blows us up. It's like, okay.
So he didn't show any,
No.
he wasn't, none of the typical signs, he wasn't nervous, wasn't sweating, none of that shit.
Nope.
He just...
Because I saw him clear as day. The car wasn't like all weighted funny on one side. It was masked very well because I was aware of the threats and I was looking for the threats, and he got one by and bam, there we go.
Son of a bitch. Was there any type of a follow-on attack? A lot of times that's an initiation to something a lot bigger.
Right. There was not. We literally, the escorts, like I said, did their job. Nobody took a shot at us.
Not one shot.
Not one shot. There was no additional follow-on. It wasn't an initiator to a bigger ambush, which is what you're kind of referring to there. There was nothing. It was just one dude in a car bomb trying to make a point.
In the vehicle, before you exited, you had mentioned that the car was on fire, flames were coming through the windows. How long, like, what was the conversation like in the car with your riding partner and any other assets or special people, we'll just call them?
Sure.
What was that conversation like?
So, like I mentioned, we ended up on the passenger side. So we're literally, the vehicle's like this, and I'm turned sideways looking out. The first thought was everything to my right, which was the bottom of the vehicle, and the driver's side, which is now straight up in the air, had big flames coming around it. So the first thought was, okay, how are we going to get out of here? And then my passenger shotgun seat, who was a staffer for the agency, he said the words really fast and loud, "The windshield!" And I looked forward, and that's when I realized the flames were starting to come in because there was no windshield. And he went, he was gone. So it was just me and our passengers. From that point on, I was like, okay, he's doing something else.
I guess we're on our own here.
Yeah. I did a quick self-assessment, you know, when it first happened, like, all right, my head seems fine, arms, fingers are still there, legs fell around, didn't feel anything wet. I saw my microphone, which was turned on to our internal channel, so I clicked the button and said, we're hit. And then from that point, I started talking to the passengers, making sure they're okay. Hey, you guys all right? Everything okay? One of them was pretty dazed. The other one was shocked, but otherwise fine. So I talked them through coming out, literally step by step, come on out, you know, here, I want you to do this. And one of my partners, the guy who was the right seat in the lead vehicle, who goes by Duck, or did at the time went by call sign Duck, former SEAL. He was Johnny on the spot, man, right there at the corner of our vehicle saying, come to me, while I'm talking them out. One of the passengers was insistent he needed to get something out of the back, and I had to eventually tell him the third time I said, you need to get out. I said, look, we're on fire. You need to get the fuck out now, which it finally shook him. He was like, oh, okay. And he stopped hunting around for something in the debris that was now everywhere inside of there. He went out, and then I climbed out of my chair, or my seat, got down onto the window, if you will, or the passenger's door window, did a quick search around, grabbed a radio, grabbed a bandolier of 203 rounds, grabbed the grenade launcher that went with it, slung it over my body, was looking everywhere for my rifle, which I could not find, and the flames were literally coming in. As a matter of fact, while I was sitting in the chair talking them through, I kept doing this because I was like, damn it, stop it, because the flames were coming around and trying to burn my face. But then I had all that stuff, got out, moved away from the vehicle.
You didn't have your rifle?
No, it wasn't in the car.
So all you had was what? A pistol and
My pistol,
your 203.
a 203, and a bandolier of rounds.
Holy shit, which
Yep.
is what, maybe 20 rounds tops?
Probably. Yeah, I think it was 20 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
How many operators are on the ground?
So me and my partner, who had unasked the vehicle unexpectedly, and then the two guys that were driving the other vehicle, one of which stayed in the driver's position. The Duck got out of the passenger's position and came and helped. Of course, like I said, the escorts, we had just trained on movement to contact 2 days prior. So they did exactly what we had just trained to do, surrounded the area, controlled it while we got out. And later, the guy that had unasked my passenger seat, who was now running around screaming outside, finally came up to me and smacked me in the chest. He goes, "Here's your rifle." And I took it and I looked at it, and it was so covered in soot and ash and crap. I was like, I don't think that's mine, but whatever. I got a rifle now. I'm good, you know?
So you're with 4 operators,
Four
but we'll call it 3.5 because one's a fucking loser. So, but how many liabilities?
There were 2 in each car, so we then had to put our 2 in the other car.
So you're babysitting 4 people.
4 folks.
You got 3 operators, and you got 1 guy that's just lost his fucking mind.
Yep. He
Wow.
did get a nice award, though, because
yeah,
he was
you
the
know.
staffer.
That's how it works over there.
Yep.
Did anybody fire any shots after this?
No, man, when I came out, before
Like from
he...
you guys?
Yeah, before he came up and jammed me in the chest with my rifle, I was literally scanning everywhere, because at that time, they were hitting our forces and videotaping it and then selling those videotapes in the bazaar. And it was one of the ways that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda were making money. So I was looking, searching for anybody around that was videotaping the whole thing. Didn't see anybody. So no, we didn't have to fire a shot.
Wow, nobody videoed. I remember when that was all happening because they actually videoed some of Red Wing, and I used to get these videos from our intel department, and I would use them to kind of, it was almost like a pre-mission ritual to get my mind where I wanted it to be before we would go on ops. But they didn't video it. And you guys, I mean, that shows a lot of discipline, and that one shot was fired from you or your team after being hit with a fucking car bomb. Your shit's on fire. You got 4 liabilities that you're trying to keep
safe.
command and control over. You got 1 guy who's lost his fucking mind, and then the other 2 guys who sound like they're pretty solid.
Yep.
Do you think you had any TBI from that, or any long-term injuries from that blast?
I didn't bang my head or anything, and the overpressure was kept outside. Again, the vehicle was so new, it worked as advertised.
Wow.
Including the windshield falling out. When we went on my side, then we rolled up to the roof. it went across the A pillar, and the pressure of it being pushed on, the way the windshields are made, they're angled so outwards, so that pressure coming this way just makes it even tighter. But coming the other direction, they'll just pop right out. And that's what it did. So I didn't really feel anything.
You were unscathed.
Yeah, I had not a scratch on me, which is why the chief of base was like, I can't believe this. Because, you know, the other people had little bumps, bruises, stitches, like I said, maybe a cracked rib on one person. They were kind of sore. The only thing I had was a little bit of singed hair up here from ducking the flames repeatedly. But it grew back, all good.
Wow. When you got out of the car, and I'm sure you're getting situational awareness on the ground, was there any residue of the car that hit you?
Yeah, there was debris everywhere. I actually have some pictures. One of them is the guy that was driving the car, his whole face just sitting on the ground. Got a gory but great picture of the dude's last moment on Earth.
No shit. So his head is on the... I mean, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Usually it's from a suicide bomber, not a car bomb.
Right, with a belt.
Yeah, because their head is...
Goes
when they detonate, their head goes up in the air and everything else is just turns into, you know, pink mist. But this dude's head, so he looked into his eyes again for a second time. He just, you know, wasn't mentally present anymore.
He was there, but he was no longer there.
Well, you know, I'm sure he was there in spirit. But, wow, and you have pictures of that.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know if we can put those on the channel or not, but
it's kind of graphic.
I'd like to see them.
I'd be happy to show you to you.
So, I mean, that's a pretty damn fitting call sign. Was anybody... How the fuck did you get out of there? You're down a vehicle.
Yep.
Was anybody coming to get you? Did you have comms with anybody higher?
Well, we just let them know through the SATCOM that we had been hit. We had recovered all passengers and we were continuing mission. So basically we jammed all of our packs into the first vehicle. So now they're literally sardines. We had one person sitting in the very back with their luggage, you know, kind of laid out across it, and the three of them pinned in. It doesn't sound like that would be that tight, but as you and I both know, you're wearing full body armor, which they only wear it when they got to move. So it's not stuff that fits them. It's just big, bulky stuff to keep them safe. So they're jammed in there. So Duck and I, you know, my right seat guy ended up taking the right seat of the other vehicle, and then Duck and I got in the back seat of our escort's pickup truck, and we actually let it out. So the remaining vehicle followed us in the lead gun truck, so now we're literally riding in a thin skin with the locals, and then the tail gun truck came up behind us, and now three vehicles continued on to Kandahar Airfield.
Wow.
In fact, we had to calm the driver down because he was going so fucking fast. We were both afraid that he was going to wreck and kill us after we just lived through this crazy shit.
How was that? Hey, dude, chill out, man.
Like,
it's
hey,
just
man,
a car
it's
bomb,
okay.
no big deal.
Slow down just a little bit. And he was like, huh, huh, huh. It's like, no, it's good, Just slow down a little bit, slow down. And he kind of slowed down like, good, yes, good. And we were still going really fast, but the truck wasn't going so bad it felt like the front end was going to fall off or he was going to lose control. So yeah, it was kind of a funny after effect. In fact, Duck and I looked at each other and he goes, dude, I hate to sound so crass, but I so wish I had my camera, because when that car blew up, it was spectacular. It was like something out of a movie. I mean, our car, when we were out of it, because it was pissing fuel out the tank because of the heat from all the flames, and that fuel was coming out raw, but where it ended, it was on fire. So it was like your flamethrower over here in a much grander scale. And it's like as the fuel level went down, it worked its way back, and when it got to the vehicle, that whole thing went boom. and it was like a 3-story high fireball.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was standing about 50 feet away from it and went, wow.
I will never forget when I saw where they put the car and they let us go look at it. And I mean, still to this day, even looking at the picture, I just can't believe anybody survived that. And then at the same time, we had no idea agency personnel were even there.
Right.
We had just gotten there, and I was like, "Holy shit, CIA's here!" And yeah, and
That was me.
yep, we were getting blown up. But last thing on this, do you think there's anything you could have done to prevent that? I mean, it doesn't sound like there was much. You could have taken a different route, maybe, but I mean, all in all, you saw the threat. You didn't think he was a threat. He blows himself up. Is there anything you would have done different or could have done different to avoid that entire thing?
Unfortunately, it was one of those situations where we had little to no choice on the route because there was only one way to get there. So you were channelized. And I did see him, like I said, and I looked right at him, and he gave me no indication whatsoever that he was a threat.